There's a chance. There's a chance he's really good. If he's really, really good, he's going to beat me. I don't think he's really good.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to A Story Called Fighting. Today, what we're going to be talking about is Ben Askren breaking down Jake Paul's boxing skills on Logan Paul's podcast, Impaulsive.
That's what it comes down to.
Why not? I got it.
Because he
Talk shit a little bit more, man.
He beat up.
You're trying to like fuck yourself up. You know what? I'm not taking your water back. I'm not getting the water.
He beat up a YouTuber and a basketball player who likely has never been in any type of fight in his whole life. So what about that makes him good? Really, though?
So Ben comes out the gate swinging pretty hard with a lot of logic and a lot of facts and a lot of things that make sense. He's saying, yo, your brother hasn't really fought anybody. Like, what gives him the validity to say that he's a good boxer, or for anyone to think that he's a good boxer in the first place? What makes that valid? And you see it kind of almost sucks the energy out of the room, and there's that moment of like silence and truth, because he's saying something that's very, very true and something that a lot of people have been wondering. So let's see what Logan has to say.
That's a little better.
It's right. My answer would be, did nothing he did in his last fight impress you?
So it's like this. Like, you wrestled, right? And you were actually relatively good. If I threw you in there against Jordan Burroughs, right? And even I'm a really hell of a wrestler, I didn't have a chance against him. What would I learn about Jordan Burroughs? And the answer is I wouldn't learn much, because the level discrepancy of the levels is so far apart, and you're not good compared to him. So I'm not going to learn much about him, right? And so if he had fought someone good, we're going to learn something about him. He fought, I don't even know what the first dude's name was. He was a bum. And the basketball player, while he was a good athlete, looked like he literally, the first time he got punched, there was just like, oh shit.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels
and
like.
it was like, to me, it was like, oh man, that guy really never got punched before. Like, he'd never been hit. And so, you know, when someone's in there against people of that level, I think it's hard to judge. Did he throw a good 1-2? Yeah, sure, right? But I mean, if no one's ever fought, lots of people can throw good 1-2s against them.
Now, this is why I love Ben Askren, because he's very intelligent. He's very smart. I know not a lot of people really know a lot about him. You know, he had that 5-second knockout where he got knocked out, got slammed on his head by Robbie Lawler, and controversially won the Robbie Lawler fight. And then he lost to Damian Maia. So he didn't really have the best UFC run, and ended up kind of being, you know, a lot of people just kind of ended up making fun of him and kind of turning him into the laughing stock of the UFC, especially with that flying knee. But he actually is a really smart guy. If you've seen him on Joe Rogan, he's very intelligent. And he says a great point here. He says, you know, Logan asks a fair question. He says, did Jake not do anything in his past fights to impress you? And he says, well, it works like this. Like, you know, if Jake had fought high-level guys, I could tell something about him. I could see something about him. He hasn't fought anyone high level, so we don't know. And that's a fair point. If, you know, it's when Jake Paul was saying all those things like, oh, I'm knocking out my sparring partners, and, you know, I'm just dropping everyone. And then he finally releases the video of him knocking out all his sparring partners. And these guys, I mean, some of these guys look like they never boxed a day in their life. And the other ones, you know, look like maybe they have a couple months of experience or maybe a year, but they're not like, I mean, a lot of these guys don't even look like they'd be high-level amateur fighters or even like decent amateur fighters. I mean, a lot of them look like they just started boxing. So that's the thing. It's not that hard to look good against someone who hasn't really boxed before. And all of Jake's past opponents are either brand new to boxing or have very, very little experience. So this is a very, very valid point.
I just think, so Jake and I both are approaching that 3-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
With any sport, not even just sports, anything you do for 3 years, if you don't get somewhat good at it by that time, like, stop. He's hit that tipping point, and I can confidently say this. He's hit that tipping point where he's not just a YouTube boxer anymore, and he's obviously on that mission to prove that.
Sure.
But my continuous rebuttal would be, he is at that point where he's a legit boxer now, and I'm sure you've seen on Instagram.
So, but when you say legit, is that like, you know, he would challenge for world title? Is that he's going to be in the top 10? Is that like, where does legit go? You know, like what level is that?
Legit in the sense of, and we experience this every day. People come over and they think they're sparring a YouTuber, then they leave nose bloodied and having been knocked down 3 times in a casual sparring session. When I say legit boxer, I mean he's far beyond what his skill would be perceived.
So Logan here is trying to defend Jake a little bit. You know, he's trying to defend little bro, saying that, you know, his skill would be far beyond what is perceived, and a lot of people think he's just a YouTuber. A lot of people underestimate them, thinking they're just YouTubers, and they actually can box, and that's a fair point. I'm sure they can box to a certain extent. Obviously, you have to know a thing or two to be able to really knock someone out like Jake was, or to just step in there and perform on some level and not look terrible. You have to know a thing or two, but obviously the question is going to remain: how good is he going to look against someone who actually knows what they are doing? Not that Ben is a pro boxer, but he is going to have more experience than anyone Jake has boxed so far.
So it's, yeah, I mean, obviously I don't know the boxing world as well, so it's kind of hard for me to judge levels. Like in MMA, what I say is this guy who's challenging for a UFC title? Is he like a UFC low level fighter? Is he a regional fighter?
Yeah.
Like, so I guess that's kind of like, it's hard for us to tell because he hasn't fought anybody. And so, hey, if he's really, really good, if he's genuinely good at boxing, he might beat me, right? If he's not good, if he's not that great, if he's not a high level guy, he's not going to beat me.
He can definitely. We know he can strike. The story you're telling right now is one that I've been kind of in line with, which is we think he's a very good fighter, but the fact of the matter is we just haven't had the ability to see it proven yet. And that's just the fact of the matter. We've seen him fight 3 non-fighters, right? Not
Three?
fighters on
Didn't he only
his.
fight 2?
No, he's had 3 fights, two professional and 1 amateur,
Okay,
right?
got it.
The good thing about this fight, in my eyes, and I've been saying this the whole time, is I personally believe that if he is able to step into the ring and beat an actual fighter, someone who has been bloodied up, has been dropped on their fucking head and gotten back up. We were at that fight.
Well, I want to talk about that.
We'll talk about that after.
Now, this is a phenomenal point that Mike is making, right? Jake needs to fight someone who has a little bit of street cred, so to say, in the fight game. He needs to fight someone who's gotten their hands dirty before, someone who is at least some sort of battle-tested athlete, which Ben is, and so they're going to find out. And I love that Ben is honest and is like, yo, if this guy's high level, I'm probably not going to win, but I don't think he's high level, so I don't think he's going to win. I think I have what it takes to edge him out and, tire him out and do what I need to do, and we are going to be able to witness that firsthand. I will say, though, even if he does demolish Ben Askren and smokes him and knocks him out, it doesn't really mean that much at all, because Ben Askren is not a high-level boxer. I mean, he's even said in interviews before, he doesn't, even when he was in the UFC, he wasn't practicing striking. Even when he was a world champion in Bellator and ONE FC, he's not actually training a whole lot of striking. He's just training to get inside of you, maybe take a punch or two or defend a punch or two, and then go for a takedown and hold you down, submit you, beat you up a little bit, things like that. So even if Jake Paul comes out and smokes Ben, it really doesn't mean anything, because honestly, I mean, Gib probably had more experience than Ben. Ben is obviously going to be a better combat athlete than Gib, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, and I can't wait. So this is a story called Fighting, and until next time.